What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a great video for those of you that like to hear lane play strategy, bowl and sport patterns, or if you bowl the Open Championships. This is a private live stream we did a couple months ago with our Virtue Nationals group. We sat down with Ben Canfield and Josh Blanchard, who are both coaches, pro shop operators, and have had prior success at Open Championships. And our entire group got to ask them questions and go back and forth with how to best play the lanes and attack both patterns. What was interesting in this discussion is you'll find that Josh and Ben actually had two different approaches to the lanes and two different answers. If you are interested in joining our Virtue Nationals group, you can sign up as an individual and we can put you with the team, or you can sign your whole team up with us. Not only do we take care of payment and registration like many groups, but you will also get access to private live streams like the one you're about to see with experts to help you prepare, as well as private discounts on product to help you prepare, and many other product raffles exclusive to those who pay early and on time. It's a cool experience. We're starting it next year in 2025. Check it out. Let us know what you think, and hope you enjoy the video. All right. Hopefully this is working. We'll give some time for people to hop on. And there's a little bit of a delay. But we are going to be doing an Open Championships discussion with Josh Blanchard and Ben Canfield, who just got back from the Open Championships. Ben is less than a week, I think, and Josh is maybe a week, a little after that.
About a month.
Yeah. Oh, you're about a month. But yeah, both have had a lot of success in bowling, also at Open Championships. But most importantly, they both also have coaching and pro shop operator backgrounds. So they can kind of combine their experience with all of the other knowledge from multiple angles to hopefully help our Virtue group be as prepared as possible. Just to make sure the live streams are working, I'm going to go check that out. But I want to just first toss it up to Josh and Ben. We'll start off with Josh. Tell me about like an Open Championships memory or anything that first sticks out, that is why you love the Open Championships.
I wouldn't say why I love it, but the word Open Championships is the fact that anybody can bowl. And I think that's a really unique and cool event that doesn't happen in any other sport. You could be on the same pair as a Hall of Famer. You could be on the pair with somebody that's their first event ever. And so that uniqueness is what makes it very unique. And I guess the story I'll share is my very first year was Albuquerque. I believe it was 2008. I think 2008 was the very first year I bowled. So I've been bowling for 16 years, my 16th consecutive. But my very first year, I just got on a subboard. And then my doubles partner was a lady, Mary something or other. But she was from Phoenix, funny enough. Wow. She didn't have an established average. So we came in as a scratch team. And I bowled just over 600. I'm going to say 620 or something like that. And she bowled 279. And that would be a 279 series. We had a team total of 8. I have to look it up. It's 880 or 890. We didn't eclipse the 900 mark. And we finished dead last. In the open doubles, we were dead last. And so eventually, I would love to win an eagle to say I've officially finished last at the Open Championships and I've finished first. But that's the good story. But that goes back to the fact that anybody can bowl. And that's just a cool aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Benji, what do you got? I mean, your top finish has got to be up there, but what's your story? I'm curious.
Well, it happened in the first year that I went. So I've bowled with Michael Lichstein, whose son, USBC and PBA Hall of Famer Larry Lichstein, every year. And Mike is a great bowler in his own right. I think he won the high roller in like the 88 or something like that.
Yeah.
Made a PBA show with Patrick Allen in doubles one time. But he has a very unique bowling style. And he's just a very unique individual. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. But it was the first time I've been around somebody that talks. He's from Connecticut. But like every other word out of his mouth is like mop or hoss or horse. And, I was walking in there and was like, who is this guy? Like, what is he doing? Why does he bowl like that? And
I wish I had a video of him to show everybody.
It's crazy. I just search Michael Neba and you'll find something. He was going around on TikTok last month and got like over 1 million views. So anyways, we're bowling team event and it was a pretty high scoring year. I think that was when the team scoring record was set, or it was up there. And he started with front 7. And he's coming back, and he's talking to us throughout. But on front 7, he comes back and he looks at me and my buddy Russ, and he's like, he's like, hold me up, boss. Like, my fault. Like, and he would say that after almost every strike when he hadn't missed at all, and we didn't know his personality at the time. Right. It was just so weird for some guy that like was about to could have shot 300 that game, telling us like it was his fault and to hold him up. But like now we, we know personality. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, it's almost like he's like a crossing guard at like at the school intersection. He's like directing traffic.
Yeah. And like every year now, like he's a very slow bowler too. So like we're always the last ones done. Like we had the red screen or whatever this year for team. So anyways, just my first interactions with him was great. And honestly, that's what I look forward to every year is getting to see him and hang out with him for a few days.
Right. So those of you that are tuning into the live stream, thanks for joining us. This is only exclusive to our Virtue Bowling Supply group that's going to nationals. We'll probably post this on our YouTube channel later in the future just for other people to learn from the discussion and the questions. But those of you that are joining, please comment over to the right. If you're on YouTube, you should be able to comment over to the right. Any questions you might have. If you guys don't have questions, I'll have questions for the guys. But please start sending those in or just saying hi so we know who's on stream and who's watching. So first off, if you guys don't know the background of these two guys, first is Ben. So he's the GCU head coach, and he took over there, 4 years ago now, Ben? How long have you been there?
No, I'm going into my 10th year.
10th year, Jesus, I'm well prepared. Anyways, a long time, and has taken the club to many new things that it hasn't done, including like club nationals, the whole nine. But he also has a lot of experience at Open Championship. He was top 40 in team in 2021, top 16 in doubles in 2022. He was 4th in all events in 2014, so pretty close to an eagle. And he's currently 41st this year in team, so he has a pretty good idea of how to break them down and play them this year. And then Josh, for those of you that maybe just started bowling yesterday or something, has PBA titles, Team USA, Junior Team USA, you name it, USBC trained coach, Pro Shop, been a part of Team Virtue, original founder, and also ball rep on the women's tour, which some people may not know. But he was top 40 in singles this year, I believe, or close to it, or something like that, and has an Open Championships average of 220. Which is awesome. So the idea here is that they're both coaches, they're both successful at Open Championships, and they have Pro Shop backgrounds. So hopefully we'll be able to answer all your guys' questions. I've seen many people hop on the live stream, but there's no questions so far coming through. So I'm going to throw it up first. If you guys can just kind of start with your individual summaries. What was your expectations going in? How did you execute? What was the actual strategy you went with? And how did it differ from what you expected? What's up, guys? Just a quick message to say that if you like bowling videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. As always, we appreciate the support so much. We're growing quickly, and we can't thank you enough. Now let's get back to the interview. And I'll throw this up to Ben. Ben can go first this time.
Yeah, so I don't bowl as much now because I coach all year, and I kind of give myself a little bit of a break, and I'm more have turned into, okay, this is gonna be a great experience, and I bowl some good guys, and if we all click, we can bowl pretty well. And this year I think in team we had, in both team and doubles and singles, we had a good game plan, and we bowl with we had 3 lefties on our team pair, so that kind of changes some things. And then doubles and singles, we all bowl the bowler journal squad together, and it's not the same, but it still gave us a decent idea of kind of the progression of what we wanted to do from going from urethane to reactive there, and in my experience it was really close. And so I bowl with 3 other guys that bowled in college at ASU, and then pitch, who I mentioned, and so we're pretty comfortable throwing urethane and using that to create some natural, shape to the lane to start. And so that was kind of our game plan on both patterns, and then we just kind of took our shift from there. And I had I bowled 140 game 2 of team. But other than that, I thought I bowled pretty well. I shot, I still shot 600 in team. And the 140 was more on me from not being sharp on my spares than not really understanding the transition. And I think that's a good thing to remember too, is like, if you're not used to bowling on tough lane conditions, like you can't hold yourself to a super, super high standard and then let yourself get frustrated in the moment. And so I think the best thing that I did was just like brush it off and be like, okay, look, like you're not sharp. Like you're fine. You'll figure it out. You got a good team behind you. And, I think the rest of the time I bowled pretty good. And I think I missed like maybe one spare the rest of the tournament from there.
Okay, cool. JB?
Yeah, I thought they played pretty much of what I thought they were going to. Ben alluded to going to both the BJ downstairs, or I guess in the other center in BC1. And they played pretty close. I thought different balls were in play, but angles for the front part of the lane were almost identical, which has been really rare. I felt like they finally have new panels. They have brand new lanes at the regular bowling center at South Point. So they got new lanes this past year. They did 30 at a time. Then a couple months later, they did the other 30, but they are brand new lanes. So that's what made them play close enough. I found more friction in the front part of the lane when I actually went up to the stadium or the plaza than I did down in there. Urethane worked exceptional at the Bowler's Journal. And for me, it did not look great when we went up and actually bowled doubles and singles in the plaza. But other people who are heavier handed in 400 or higher on the rev rate, it looked good in both places. So I would say if you're above 400, you're going to be able to throw urethane at least through doubles, at least through all of doubles. But the BJ gives you a chance to actually, when you're done with urethane, what reactive balls are you going to go to? And how are your angles going to change? And so you can actually, I wouldn't say throw away a BJ squad, but use reactive games 2 or 3 and see how many boards you're going to move, see kind of how they play. So when you get up to doubles and singles and you have to switch out of urethane, kind of what ball you're going to go to. But the team event was, I would consider a very challenging pattern for the average bowler.
That's what I heard.
It's very challenging, and just like Ben said, if you're not sharp on your spares, the problem is the average bowler is probably getting 2 strikes to 3 strikes a game, and I'm going to be nice at 3 strikes a game, and hopefully they're in a row, but they're probably not going to be. So you're leaving 7 or 8 spares, and if you miss half of those because they're very complex spares that you're not comfortable shooting at, or they're shooting across the lane at them, now you have 3 opens, and 3 opens in a game, and unless you have a 3-bagger in there, it's going to be 170 or 180 pretty fast.
Right. So did you guys both, did your teams both use I think, Ben, you mentioned urethane in team. Josh, did you guys use urethane as well in team, or?
Nobody did.
Nobody did.
No one did.
Okay. Was that your guys' strategy and approach, or was it just coincidentally how it happened?
It was a strategy to try to throw reactive outside and break down the outer part of the lane. If I could go back and do it over again, I would probably waste 3 or 4 minutes throwing plastic in the middle part of the lane.
Okay.
I would tell everyone to throw plastic, take your plastic, slide 30 or slide 25 and throw it at the headpin. It has to touch the headpin.
Got it.
It's got to touch the headpin. I mean, to me, it depends on which game you want to play. Do you want a little more hook outside, or do you want to have hold inside? Because you're going to have 7 or 10 minutes to do one or the other. It's what strategy do you want to have? And I think that kind of depends on what level of player you have on your team. The average team that goes, they're going to want hold. They're not going to need hook outside. But the high rev rate guys, they can actually tear up the outside part of the lane a little more, or use urethane and do something. But there was nobody on our team that was skilled enough or heavy-handed enough to probably throw urethane. And I thought I could get away without using it. In hindsight, I don't know if I could have and how successful I would have been doing it. I have heard of some people doing it, but it's so hard unless you're 450 to 550 on a rev rate. Urethane just does something completely different for them than it does for everybody else.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
But other teams that I've talked to have gone with that strategy of throwing plastic down the middle because there's literally no hold at all. And so getting 30 to 50 plastic balls to go down in the middle of the lane, it really can affect the pattern. Plastic affects the pattern more than reactive does.
Oh, okay.
So plastic will carry the oil down. So it'll push the oil down. So you will affect the pattern. You might not see that hold game 1, but by game 3, you would see a lot more hold by the game 3 than you would without throwing plastic in the middle part of the lane.
Got it. So when you're throwing plastic, do you think you just throw it like a spare shot, like kind of hard and straight, or do you try to hit it and generate rev rate, or does it matter?
I think as long as you're carrying oil, the ball has to hit the head pin. There's key. You don't want oil getting carried down at the 2.4 or at the 3.6. You need oil to be carried down like in between 15 and 20 at the arrows. Because as you've moved in and you're throwing across the lane, that oil in the middle part of the lane will help push the ball down and just help it push a little bit more.
Got it. Okay. So, Benji, how about you? I'm hoping you're saying you guys did use urethane, because then that would be even more useful because you guys had contrasting approaches.
We did. We shot 1099 game 1, and all 4 of our righties used urethane, but Matt Zweig is very heavy-handed, slow. Like that's one of his favorite things to do. Same with Russ Oviatt, who I bowl with. Like I think Russ and I, if we could have thrown reactive and felt good about keeping it on the right side of the head pin, we would have. But urethane just gave us a more consistent line, and so we just decided to trust that we could make our moves off that. We had a couple guys on our companion team, lower rev rate, older gentlemen that were throwing reactive and playing pretty direct, like on the same line as us with urethane. So I don't really know how that affected us. We shot 975 game 2. But again, I shot 149. So I was really the only one that bowled bad, and like by my own admissions there, it was spare shooting. It wasn't necessarily ball reaction. I got into reactive like I saw it starting to go away at the end of game 1 with urethane. And so I made the switch right away. I switched from a purple hammer to eventually a game breaker 2 is what I shot 230 with game 3. Okay. But I cycled through a couple, an extreme envy before that. And Russ got in with reactive, and so did Matt. But KJ, he actually threw his purple hammer the whole time. And he's lower rev rate, but he's pretty soft with it. And like, it's just kind of one of his tricks. And almost after every shot, I was like, KJ, you should get out of that. You should get out of that. But, he beat me by 70. So, I'm not going to tell him that. So it worked out for us. And I'm not sure if having 3 lefties helped us in that way, but I think if your team is comfortable throwing urethane and you come from a background of seeing that transition a lot, like I coached through it in college all the time. So like, I think we were confident in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing is regardless of which way you decide to do it, like just be confident and stick to it. Because if you start second guessing yourself, nothing's going to work.
Yeah. And it also plays actually into the same thing that Josh said, which is, urethane might be harder to make work at those lower rev rates. People who are maybe matched. It sounds like most of the guys you're talking about have quite a bit of rev rate or are rev dominant. It sounds like the guys that had success with urethane.
Yeah.
So actionable stuff for our group would be, if you have people that can get soft enough with their ball speed, get rev dominant enough, maybe urethane's an option. But if you're kind of matched or speed dominant or aren't over 300 rev rate, don't immediately assume that you have to throw urethane. So definitely, it sounds like from listening to the two of you. Also, if you're someone who is not comfortable with the transition of urethane, maybe consider that.
Now, obviously, we're going through the angle of your teammates and you're trying to strategize with your teammates. Some of the people in our group who may watch this later, they may not have that privilege. They may be bowling with kind of random people they may not know. And I think in probably that case, probably lean towards the style, that aspect that we just mentioned, where if you're pretty rev dominant, have a high rev rate, maybe lean towards urethane. If you aren't, then probably lean towards like smoother reactive still, Ben or Josh.
Yeah, I would say, to be honest, an older reactive ball would actually be better than a new ball. Something that might be oil soaked, something that you may have had for 2 or 3 years, that's not going to over jump on you, would probably be a better choice for team event. It's going to give you a more controlled reaction.
Yeah, I love that advice. Sounds like Benji, you agree as well. We finally have our first question. So I owe a beer to Duster. Kyle, thanks for breaking the ice and get it going. Hopefully, we've had viewers this whole time. There's no question that's a bad question, guys. You represent some kind of demographic out there that will watch this video later that will be able to learn from your questions. So please ask anything you're thinking. Duster's asking, since you guys threw urethane, I saw Matt straighter through the front. Would throwing thane from the in zone make them too squirrely? So I think his question is do you think you can get too left too fast with urethane and mess up the lanes? Or did you guys stay pretty right? So all 4 of you were pretty far right with it from the start?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he's referring to team or doubles and singles, but I in team we were pretty far right the whole time when we were in urethane, and then in doubles and singles, we started to move left as it went on, but I think the farthest left I got with my feet was 16. Okay, team. We definitely were pretty straight, and then I think if we would have tried to like shape it from the middle part of the lane, that would not have been a good strategy, because I think the balls just would have quit coming around the corner, and we would have left a lot of 2-pin combos, and or missed a little bit in 3-6-10, and then you're just I don't think that would develop them very good at all.
Yeah. So Duster, that means we're gonna have to pull the pitch black out of Riley's hands most likely. So that leads into the next question. Kyle, thanks for the question. If anybody else has a question, please fire away. That's exactly why we're live streaming, guys. I could have recorded it probably at a better time. The other question, I guess, with the urethane, since we're on it, is what would you guys think teams should look for to know to get out of urethane and into resin? We'll throw this one up to Josh first.
I think that once you've thrown 2 or 3 good shots in a row that wiggle on you or really flat 10 the 6-pin lays in the gutter, most people don't have a ton of tricks with urethane. You got to really be speed control. You have to control your speed a lot with urethane to get it to do different things. I mean, people don't realize that you can over rotate urethane and it doesn't do anything extra, really. I mean, at the end of the day, not like a reactive ball. So you try slowing down, you try doing this in the 6-pin lays in the gutter twice, or that 2-pin stands maybe 2 times in a row. It's probably time to get out of it.
Benji, anything you want to add? Or
yeah, I agree. I got out of it in doubles the second I left a couple flat 10s in a row on the right lane, and I was confident to do that because of what I saw at the BJ, and towards the end, like Josh said, throwing reactive in game 3 down there, like I made the same exact move.
Okay, so it sounds like, Benji, you feel the same way, that getting a Bowler Journal squad in actually helps you prep for team pretty well? Because singles and doubles.
No. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because I was going to say historically they used the singles and doubles pattern, I thought.
Correct. Yeah. Not team.
Okay. Got it. How much tighter? Describe the difference that you see between singles and doubles versus team. Benji, you can have that one first.
I mean, there's definitely more oil on the right side of the lane, more built-in shape to the pattern. Like I started with urethane in doubles and singles, but I threw a shot in practice with an extreme envy, maybe like 4 or 5 left of urethane, and I hit the pocket. And if I did that in team, it would have missed the headpin left. And so we were able to use urethane to build up that shape on the right side of the lane. And then once I got into a big ball, like my feet didn't get left of 22, I think the entire 6 games of doubles and singles, because we had that shape in there. Matt and Russ were much further left than me, but I have like 4 degrees of tilt. So that's something nice that I can do.
Yeah. Josh, how about you between singles and doubles and team event? Do you play them different or?
Yeah, much different. They're significantly different depending on how much rotation you have. But they are probably 4 feet different. I mean, it's the same USBC, 38 and 42. I mean, it doesn't vary very much. So I would say that there's more volume up front in team. That's what makes them so erratic off the back end. That's most of the time when people see erratic moves, is because there's so much in the front and less taper down the lane. So when it leaves the oil into that dry, it makes an erratic move off of it. So I think there's definitely less oil in the front part of the lane in singles and doubles, though, because I couldn't get urethane to work up in the plaza because it actually hooked too early up in the plaza. But there was guys like Tim Simonis and other guys on mine that they made urethane look fine. They were heavy-handed, and they got through the front part of the lane a lot better than I did, and they made it look perfectly fine. So I would say a little less overall volume. Either event, I don't think you need a super big, aggressive cover stock on either of them. Medium cover stocks seem to be the best. I haven't seen anybody with some like Gem or Cypher or anything like super, super aggressive that has been taking the lead in any event. Kind of medium shells have been better just because they're using 2 different oils. I can tell you that much. But yeah, that's what makes them, I think, not transition as much in singles and doubles is the less volume. Because when the more volume you put out there, the faster it goes away and makes you move faster. And when there's less volume, the oil won't move around as fast. So that's why I think singles and doubles, I think, is a very fair and hittable pattern for every style. I mean, if you can, I think it's a very fair pattern overall.
Okay. So if you guys can recall, game 1, frame 1, in both events, where were you, you know, at the arrows and down lane? Like, what was the zone you were playing, and with what ball, and what were you wearing, and how was your exact mood? And
I think I'll defer to Josh on that one because I started with urethane in both. It was pretty close.
That's why I was asking. I was really,
yeah.
It sounded like he was more reactive and you were more urethane, so I was kind of curious.
Yeah, I was probably targeting the same thing at the arrows in both in game 1, but in doubles I had a little bit of extra bump to the right, like just natural friction with it than I did in team. So my target down lane, my head belly just had to be a little bit more square for a good shot to get to the pocket in team.
Got it. Now I didn't watch. So Benji, so in team, was that like 10-5 or 8-5 or?
Like I was crossing probably like 4 or 5 at the arrows.
Okay, and then just going pretty straight in front of you, or a little angled, or?
Yeah, very straight in team.
Pretty straight in team. Okay, and then singles and doubles, you're in the same spot with urethane, and then when you went to reactive, you just had a little more bounce to the right, is what you're saying. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So JB, what about you?
In team, I slid 30 game 1, and I wish I would have slid farther left. Because I chased it, and once I got to like 37, they were pretty walled. But I mean, to be honest, I would say just keep going left because there's no hold.
Sure.
And that's why I throw in the urethane. But slid 30 is going through 17, 18 game 1 and getting out to 7. You get it out past 7, 8. Good luck. You're gonna miss the head pin.
Yeah.
But you. So I mean, it wasn't a great game 1 about 202 or 201, but there just was no hold at the end of the day. Every time I wanted to slide 20 or 25, I really did, but I couldn't. Either miss the head pin to the right or it went Brooklyn.
Right. I remember seeing the guy from the USBC social media who shot like 299 game 1, and he was like wheeling the lane. So
yeah.
that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
If I would have slid in the left gutter game one, I probably would have had a higher game. But it was one of those. You always think you're in a team, so you don't want to mess anybody up. So you don't want to move. You don't want to be that person. But
Yeah,
I just should have. And but in singles and doubles, same ball, theorem, sort of theorem, and sliding 15, 16 with a theorem, going through 8, 9, out to 4, 5. So that's where I was. But maybe if I was sharper, I could have thrown urethane, but I just wasn't sharp enough to throw it. So at the end of the day, but they just chased it. It was like it was gradual 1 or 2 board moves. Gradual. It was never like a 5 board move. I mean, it was just slow moves in. It's just slow 1 or 2 board moves in until I slid like 30. The last game of singles to shoot 760 or 770 or whatever I shot. So,
yeah. No, that makes sense. That's actually why I asked the question. I figured resin versus urethane, 2 different answers there. So last question. We don't have a lot of comments here, but it's okay. First time we're learning. And but last question, I'll let you guys go here. For the average league bowler, you don't know anything about their style, but you know they're anywhere from 190 to 220 in league. What would you say the top 1-2 things they should focus on going to the Open Championships? Is it arsenal? Is it they should just go practice their spares? Is it, a strategy with their team? Or anything I haven't thought of, I guess. What would you guys say that they need to focus on? Or how do they?
Ben. Okay. It's a good question. I think I would be a big proponent of like not drilling anything new and just sticking with, your current arsenal. And I think like Josh and I both mentioned, like shooting spares, right? The average league bowler is going to bowl 1 or 2 leagues a week and maybe get their, couple free practice games or whatever they have at their bowling center. But are they going to do a spare drill that my college bowlers do every week? Probably not. So like if you have some time leading up to it, like it's super helpful to focus on that. Like I didn't do that and I paid the price. And so if you can put in some work to at least give yourself a mental edge of, okay, hey, look, I shot a bunch of 10 pins today. Like I'm good. I'm confident. So that way you're not second guessing yourself up on the approach. Like I think that's if I was coaching one of my college teams to go into this, I would tell them to, it's a hard pattern, shut your mind off, just bowl, we'll work together. And like, I can't give you the magic potion.
Yeah. So it sounds like your answer is mainly spares.
Spares. Yeah. And then just be confident in what you're good at, and don't try to reinvent the wheel just because, right. Yeah. Like Josh said, it's the Open. Different people of different styles win Eagles in different years or cash, right? Like wherever you're at in the in that spectrum, so it's 9 games. It's not like you're prepping to go bowl a season on tour or something like that where you have 4 months of competition where you can kind of work through things.
Yeah, totally. So it sounds like spares and do things that you can be confident in that are your A game. Because the environment is already going to make you pretty uncomfortable. Is that fair?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. JB?
Yeah, I think what people become uncomfortable with is leaving spares and shooting spares that they aren't used to shooting. And you know what? A majority of league bowlers like to hook at their spares. That's what they're comfortable with doing at home. And I think I'm talking right now, or we're talking to a lot of league bowlers or average bowlers, right? So my suggestion is, if you're going to hook at them or whatever you want to, ask a bowling center to put out like a 37-foot pattern and throw a spare ball for your strike shot and then shoot the spare with your reactive ball. Because most of the time people can't control the back end reaction on the spares. They leave the 1-2-4. I see it all the time. They leave the 1-2-4, then they go to shoot at it and it overhooks and they leave the 1 pin every single time. They don't know how to shoot the 1-2-4 when the back ends are hooking. So that's my number one thing. If you're going to hook at your spares, then that's fine. But practice shooting your spares on a sport pattern with that same hooking, so you understand kind of what it does or what it's not going to do at the end of the day. Because at the Open Championships, you leave a 3-6-10 and you throw it out there to hook at it. I can guarantee you get it outside of 5, it's not going to hook back to make the 3 pin. Right. It stays out there, and then so you miss it. So it's just little stuff. And then all of a sudden you missed your first 2 spares, and now you have 17 in the second frame, and you tense up, and now everything becomes uncomfortable. So it's getting in that comfort zone. I always tell my guys on my team, if we can get out the first 2 frames with 9 spare or 8 spare, like, we're off to a good start. The worst thing you can do is to get off with open, because now you're feeling like they're hard. I have no marks. What do I do? So just trying to get the first 3 frames clean and get yourself out of there with some confidence will build your confidence. But I like that remark of not drilling a new ball. I know pro shop people will hate to hear that, but it's maybe even taking an older ball that doesn't hook as much just to control the back ends. And it's just for one game. It's just so the back ends calm down, and then just play where your team is playing, listen to people on your pair, and get comfortable. But the biggest thing is just getting comfortable for those first 3 to 5 frames.
Yeah, I obviously am here to get your guys' opinion, but over the years, when people ask me what ball they should drill for Open Championships, I'd be in league and I would say, I don't even need to go in the shop with you. You can pick anyone in there you want that costs $75. You can drill any of those, and that's the money for Open Championships. And they and they never do. They don't ever listen. But yeah, absolutely. So practice your spares. We did get one more if you guys have time. Duster being a good sport. JB read my mind. Next question was going to be, would asymmetrical balls be better at controlling the friction in team, or do you need something smaller core so it's not so tumbly?
I'm a firm believer of the asymmetry, and I tried telling that to Castings before he went, and he didn't want to believe me. But I just felt like the asymmetry will help it lock up and go more forward and control the back in the lane more in team events. And most of the guys on my team that end up throwing asymmetry, most people don't like it in league. But the asymmetry in team event, it just helps that core lock up and go forward so it doesn't keep hooking on the back end when there's already friction.
Right. Benji, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had a different strategy, but if I was going to throw reactive, like, that's what I would do. And like, as I take my team to South Point every year for the tier 1 events, and we have to select 5 balls for their arsenal, and you better believe that we're using some asymmetric cores, to start each day of the tournament.
Yeah, on the fresh. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. We had viewers almost the entire time. We didn't get a lot of questions, but hopefully this is our first time doing this for many future instances where we can try and help people prepare as good as possible for nationals, and they don't have to search around for random YouTube videos, and they can come in here and ask us directly. So hopefully it'll be good. But thank you guys so much for your time. I can't thank you guys enough, and hopefully we get a little bit of your guys' success.
Sounds great. Thanks
Good luck to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. All right.
We hope you found this video useful. As always, if you like videos like this, make sure you hit subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.